You're not gonna like it. You look like Morrissey.
Hello, my name is Shanalika. Welcome to top surgery, apparently. This is an odd one because the idea with this particular video is I'm getting top surgery in a week and a half, and I figured that something I could do would be to just document the process as I go along. But it's weird because obviously I don't know at this stage what the end result is going to be. I don't know whether or not what the ending of this video is going to be. I don't know if it's going to be like a happy ending or not. Obviously, like I'm about as sure as I can be of this particular decision, but I'm not 100% sure. I think it's probably quite rare for people to be 100% sure with these kinds of things, and then if they are, maybe that's not even the best thing, because like how can you be 100% sure of the thing until it's actually happened to you? Like, you can't be really. I'm part of this trans mask Facebook group that's based in the UK, and basically the idea there is people share their experiences with things generally associated with transmasculine transition. A lot of that is people documenting their top surgery journeys, including sort of like before and afters, and like who they went with and how the procedure was for them. And I have found that an invaluable resource in working my particular thing out, just to hear from someone who's gone through the process, and like that makes it feel like less scary. And I guess the done thing with that is to give back. I sort of was assuming I would like take some photos and all of that kind of thing, and generally document the experience to a degree to put it in the group anyway. But also I have a platform, so I could get this out to people who aren't in the UK, to whom it might be useful. I also feel like this is one of those types of videos that people are going to see as cynical in some way, like, oh, you're just monetizing an experience that you've had, or using it for like cheap clicks or whatever. But I always find the accusation against YouTubers that they are like trying to get people to watch their videos very strange, because like, yeah, we're trying to get people to watch our videos. We need to make a living here. Of course, there's every chance that it might just end up being too personal to share, but this way I have the footage, and then if I want to share it, I can, and then if I don't want to, I don't. I think if I do decide to upload this video, I'm gonna still do it like quite a while after top surgery, partially so that I'm more healed, so I can reflect more thoroughly on the entire process, but also because I know I'm gonna get a lot of nasty comments on this one, and I would like to be in a less vulnerable place. But you know, I thought this might be just good, like as almost like a sort of therapy thing. I can just sit here and get like all of my thoughts out, and even just for my own benefit, just having a sort of diary, like video diary, documenting the whole thing is just going to be interesting to be like, to reflect on like how I thought it was going to be, and then how it actually was, I guess. I'm in a bit of a strange way right now, I'll be honest. It's been I'm having a time. So I'll start at the beginning and just sort of explain how I got to this point, I guess, because it's been a long process. I have discussed my sort of gender journey a little bit in my video about detransition. I may repeat myself, sorry if you've heard some of this information before. I did not really experience dysphoria at all up until like puberty, because I'd been raised in not a massively gendered way. Like it was gendered, but it wasn't restrictive, or not super restrictive anyway. So like, for example, you know, if someone gave me a baby doll and the baby doll ended up in the bin, like nobody would complain. Nobody would be like, no, you have to play with the baby. They would just like be like, okay, you'd prefer a dinosaur, that's fine. I don't think I really noticed gender to be a massive problem until like the split happens, you know, when you hit puberty, and like boys and girls are expected to start behaving in very different ways, and their bodies develop in sort of different ways. The only serious physical, like personal dysphoria that I have experienced is to do with like, you know, the top section. Oh gosh, am I really gonna put this on the internet? When like that particular development started happening, from the onset it felt like an invasion. I hesitate to like use the word tumor, but like that is what it felt like. It felt like an unwanted, uninvited, malignant growth. I was deeply upset about it at the time. I just kind of, you know, got around it by like wearing like very baggy clothing and stuff. That never really went away. Like, that just never ever felt like a part of my body. It felt like just an attachment, you know, like something else that had just been inserted that I then just had to live with. It's interesting because I personally don't think that all of my like dysphoria feelings are to do with gender, or rather I think that a lot of my feelings around gender and my sort of physical discomfort come from autism, because it's ultimately a sensory problem. I hate the feeling of having a body part that I can't control, that serves no useful function. To me, like it's like an appendix, except that like my I'm not aware of my appendix, and my appendix didn't like barge in later. I think I've always had it. So yes, I've definitely always had an appendix. I think if I was like constantly aware of my appendix because it was like more intrusive or more visible, then maybe I would have similar feelings about my appendix. You know, especially if society treated me in a certain way for having one, you know, as opposed to an appendix being something everyone has. The appendix analogy is going like too far. I should stop. I suppose I should specify like the reason why it is like a superfluous body part for me. For some people, that like seeing that as an unnecessary body part is as weird as saying like, oh well, no, I just don't like my leg, can you just remove my leg, I don't feel like it's part of my body. I recognize that to some people it's like that, but for me it isn't, because I'm not gonna have children ever. Absolutely useless for that particular function. In fact, the idea makes me feel deeply uncomfortable. And like as a sexual thing, I get like little to nothing out of it. It's just not worth keeping for that reason. In my video about detransition, I came up with this sort of distinction between personal dysphoria, which is sort of like any dysphoria that you would experience in the like sort of in a vacuum, hypothetically, that would be present regardless of other people, versus social dysphoria, which is like dysphoria experienced on the basis of like how society treats you and stuff. It's not a perfect distinction. The two things do influence each other, so it's not possible to totally separate them out, but I do think it is useful to some degree in working out where your dysphoria comes from and how you might want to deal with it. So with me, there's this very clear like personal aspect of the dysphoria, which is entirely to do with like physical sensation, and the fact that I have a body part that is superfluous, that serves like no useful function. But then there's also the social aspect, which is like how having this body has resulted in me being treated by society, and how that causes more discomfort. I don't get tons of bad treatment by random men in comparison to other femme-perceived people that I know. Most other people have a lot more horror stories than I do. I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One is that I think I'm just quite unapproachable. I think that I don't look very sort of like, I don't know, innocent or cute or whatever, and I think that means that people are slightly less likely to think that they can push me around. The other aspect of it is that I for probably partially like dysphoria related reasons, I tend to wear quite like covery clothes. I don't wear terribly like figure hugging or like revealing outfits. Of course people should be able to do that and not have it be seen as like an invitation, but unfortunately that often is how it's seen, which is part of the reason I don't do that, and as a result I do get less harassment, apparently. However, in the summer it's hot. I don't want to frankly be wearing anything on my top half sometimes, but you know, I content myself in the summer with sometimes wearing like crop tops and stuff, and that inevitably results in street harassment. Like even if it doesn't need to be like particularly anything, just the fact that people can see my body is enough for them to like, you know, punish me for having it. And I say people, I mean cis-het men. Not all of them, of course, but enough to make me never want to do that. I would rather just swelter. So that's like my situation. That's what I experience. I have used a binder intermittently, but ultimately chose not to the vast majority of the time because they're very hot, they're very uncomfortable, and they are damaging to your body. And I think my approach was that if I'm gonna look like this, I don't want to damage this. I want to either have this or not have this. Nothing against people who use binders, obviously. If it's good for you, you do that by all means. I'm just saying everything that I've done for whatever use it is to anyone. I signed up to go on the GIC waiting list, I think at least 7 or 8 years ago, and I was seen a few times, and maybe I may have got somewhere with that if I hadn't backed off a bit and gone, actually, I'm gonna see if I can just live with this. And I don't think that's a totally unreasonable thing to do. In fact, I think that's, if you can avoid surgery, avoid surgery. It's surgery. Not in like any kind of moral way, but just that like you want to avoid doing like damage to your body as much as possible. I didn't want to be getting the surgery in order to prove that I was non-binary. I didn't want having to like prove my identity to be the reason that I got top surgery. And the other thing is, I didn't want the social aspect of it to be the reason that I got it. Performing a surgery on myself primarily because some men have made the world too uncomfortable for me to exist in the way I am is a frustrating reason to do something. I'm not saying that makes it invalid for people for whom that is a huge part of the reason, and it's not a part of the reason. It's certainly a part of it, but I wanted to see if I could get over it. I wanted to see if I could be like, okay, well, I'm just going to sod them. I'm going to dress the way I want. I'm going to look the way I want. I'm going to not feel shame for having a body, because like these people see it and interpret it in a certain way. Mixed success with that. It's not something I ever managed to fully do, is just be like oblivious to it. I mean, that's the whole point of it, right? Is that, you know, they see you going and like living your best self, and then it's like, oh well, gotta stop that. I think what really solidified this decision for me was the pandemic. For, you know, a good few years, I was not leaving the house very much, not interacting with the outside world very much, not interacting with strangers very much. My house is just me and 2 other trans people. There was no need to prove my gender at all. Obviously, no random sexualizing of my body. You know, we had a mini little, like, ideal world in our house during the pandemic, and I still felt dysphoric. The physical dysphoria was as present as ever. It didn't go away because the social aspect had gone, as I thought it might. Seeing that and knowing that it was never going to go away, that there are days when I can feel better about it, there are days when I don't notice it as much, but those are only days where I can tolerate the thing, right? It's not that I ever feel like, oh great, I love it the way it is. And I realized that was never going to change, and that's when I started like pursuing top surgery in earnest. I should talk about the things that that made me doubt this particular decision, or that made me feel like maybe I shouldn't. Some of them are reasonable, I think, like that thing I said earlier about like, it's a surgery. If you can just like the body you have and just be content with it, that's a good thing to be able to develop if you can. Other factors are a bit like more strange. For example, I have a very conventionally like good, like archetypical female body. I have a sort of Barbie body. Obviously, I'm talking about like convention. I'm not saying that like there's any one body type that is like better or less attractive or whatever. You know, I'm not saying that. But like, we are raised to look at certain standards and think, this is what beauty is for like a woman, and this is what beauty is for a man, or like whatever. Those images are like imprinted upon us from a very young age and get very deeply ingrained. So even if I like intellectually don't agree with it, that's still something I'm aware of. It's something that people I dated were aware of. It's hard when you're receiving like quite a lot of positive information about what your body looks like, about that particular aspect of it, to then be like, I'm just gonna cut it off. I felt like ungrateful, because I know that there are people getting surgery to attain a body that is somewhat like the one I have naturally. So there's definitely an aspect of it that is like, you know, you've been like blessed with this particular like thing that other people want, so you should find a way to make it work and like be grateful for it, because it's somehow like wasteful otherwise. Another aspect of it, and this is very strange, the appeal to heterosexual men is for some reason, on some level, a concern to me, despite the fact that like cis-het men occupy like a tiny percentage of the people I've dated, and an even smaller percentage of the people that I actually want to date. Someone for whom that is like a major aspect of their attractiveness to people. I'm not knocking that, like you knocking. That's okay, like if that's like your type or whatever, but that's obviously not someone I would want to be with me. None of this like really makes sense when you break it down, because obviously like the sort of like gratitude thing, it's like, yes, that might be like a good body for someone else, but the point is that you don't like it. And obviously like, yeah, the sort of the desirability politics to thing, I think that's just, you know, internalized like beauty standards, and the fact that I guess that we're like trained to see ourselves through the lens of like what is desirable, and that desirability is dictated by like the cis-het norm. The other thing is that like a lot of people who you know, on a broader gender spectrum, a lot of people who like have been very enthusiastic about the body that I have also been very enthusiastic about top surgery, and are just like, oh yeah, you'll look so hot afterwards. It's not as if I don't have the support and validation that I need. It's not as if I haven't been talking about this for literal years with a lot of my friends who have been very supportive about the idea the entire way through. But yeah, conditioning is a very real thing, and it still affects me even if I don't want it to. While I was pursuing this option, I also made the decision to have my hair cut, which might sound like a sort of, why are you bringing that up? But I think it was also kind of like a little bit helpful in the sense that like I don't have any like tattoos or piercings or anything, so I'd never been like, I think I want this, I'm going to do quite a drastically appearance altering thing and just see what the result is. And obviously this is way lower stakes because like the hair grows back. Like obviously this would take like a very long time to grow back out to where it was beforehand, so it was still like a fairly drastic change. I got my friend to do it as well, which was fun. Getting that done was like a useful first step of going, I'm pretty sure I want this thing. I'm having like mild doubts about it, but I'm pretty sure I want this thing, and I'm just gonna do it and see if my gut instinct was correct, if like what my like heart was telling me was correct. And it was. This is so much better. Why did I ever? No one needs as much hair as I had. I gave the like shaved off bits to my partner because they're like a weird cryptid. I have no idea what they've done with it. I'm never gonna ask. I should also talk about the process in general of getting top surgery as a non-binary person. For a long time, that was also part of the reason why I didn't seek it out. I was categorically told by the first psychiatrist I saw when I was trying to get on the gender identity clinic waiting list that it was not done. It was not practiced, even though I knew people at the time who'd had this procedure done without hormones. Can't remember if I've told this story on YouTube before or not, but he was like, no, you can't have top surgery without hormones. If you do that, then you'll never find a job, and you'll never find a partner. I found it very funny, but you know, if you weren't as sure of yourself as I was, that could be a really like a really big setback. You could be really messed up by that, so that's sad that happened, I guess, but I found it really funny at the time. I was just like, mate, I have a job and several partners. It can be harder to get people to accept or understand it, especially if it's honestly not so much of a gender thing. I am the gender I am. I am a gender non-binary. That that is not changing in any significant way when I get this surgery. The surgery is to alleviate discomfort, physical discomfort that I personally believe would exist even if society wasn't shitty to people who have bodies like I do. I think the more we can move away from like having to fit a gendered narrative with this kind of thing, honestly, the better, because people are just very individual and the reasons for their wanting particular types of surgery are gonna vary. I think it's best to approach these kinds of things not in terms of like what gender do I want to be, but more in terms of like what changes would be best for me personally. And viewing them all as individual changes rather than just like a sort of like a gender kit. I'm glad that I exist at a time where this is even possible. I think, you know, X number of years ago it wouldn't be, and I do think that is part of the reason it's taken me so long to reach this point, because even within transness there are more acceptable trajectories for people to go on. For example, when I first told my dad that I was getting top surgery, he thought that was me coming out as transmasculine, and then started telling me all this stuff, that all this research he'd been doing on like lower surgery and stuff, which is not even something that like the majority of like transmasculine folk get, as far as I'm aware. And I was like, no, you're confused. That's not. I wasn't saying I am a man. I was saying I want top surgery. That was a lot harder for him to understand, and I think is a lot harder for a lot of people to understand. I think the fact that I am non-binary and agender has delayed this process more than it would have been if I'd been transmasculine and followed a conventional narrative, or if we had been at this point in society like all those years ago when I was first having these feelings, because then I would have seen more examples of a similar trajectory to myself. Like I think Andy Stevenson did a comic that I found quite useful. I'll link to it in the description. It was quite similar in terms of how I am, in terms of it being like not something that you completely hate all the time, but still something that you would rather do without. There have been times where I've been okay with it. There have even been times where I've kind of like almost liked it because like someone else is getting a lot out of it. But again, it's just not a good enough reason. It's just not a good enough reason to stick with something that you don't want for other people. So I made the decision during lockdown. That's when it kind of really crystallized and became clear to me that this was the thing I wanted. The GIC process is too slow, it's too unreliable. I don't think they're ever going to give it to me, so I went private. I am having the surgery at the Nuffield Hospital in Rottingdean. My surgeon is Mr. Mellington. The type of surgery I'm getting is a double incision, and I'm not getting nipples. That was actually quite an easy decision to make. Obviously they have to stick them back on, right? It's not like they don't remain like connected. So there's so many reasons as to like why that idea was unappealing to me, because A, like loss of sensation, and I never had much to begin with. B, I just think like nipples look stupid. And C, I heavily dislike the idea of like a bit of skin being like sewn back on where it wasn't to begin with. Like you may as well like attach it to like my leg or something. And also I'm getting this as a non-binary person. The reason why people can sometimes be a bit like, whoa, why are you doing that, is because it won't look like natural. But I'm such an unnatural being anyway, you know, like at least by conventional ideas of what natural is. I'm into freaks. I think I am freakish, you know. I have a kind of like, you know, a sort of somewhat alien identity, and that's like in the total absence of gender, that's like where I sit. Why would I worry about trying to like look less confusing? It's really other people's problem, not mine. I chose this particular surgeon partially because during my research he was the only one who had no negative feedback, because there were some surgeons who had no negative feedback with regards to their work, but had negative feedback regarding like the team, or I don't know, like the food they were given, or like something like that. This one just had none. My primary source of research being this Transmask Facebook group, rather than obviously not the surgeons' websites and stuff, because obviously they'll only show the positive reviews on there. Yeah, just all like unassociated, unaffiliated groups and things like that, and that is where I would suggest other people do their research. The other reason is that he doesn't use drains. For me, that's a really, really good thing. I don't even like having like a cannula in, like it's fine, I can deal with it, but again, like probably like autism sensory stuff, I feel like I can't move my arm even if it's not painful. I'm just like there's something on me, like a tick or like a leech or something is what it feels like, and then I can't fully relax or anything until it's gone. So the idea of having like two things like in my body, like draining fluid for 7 to 10 days afterwards is very unappealing. Like, I would do it if I had to, but I'm really appreciative that there's an option to not do that. I'm aware that I will have to have a cannula in for surgery, but you know, I'll get over it. That's the other advantage to not getting nipples, actually, is that you can have a shower sooner, because that's the most complicated bit of surgery that gets infected the most and things like that. Honestly, that's a good as reason as any. Getting the surgery organised is a bit of a faff. In the UK, private surgeons require you to have 1 and sometimes 2 referrals from psychiatrists to confirm that you're not insane if you want to get surgery as a non-binary person. I'm not sure if the same applies if you're following a more conventionally like binary path. I'm sure someone in the comments will tell me. But yeah, if you're non-binary, that's the process you have to go through, especially if you're kind of middle gender or like no gender non-binary, rather than like sort of having a leaning one way or the other. For this particular surgeon, I only needed to get 1 referral, and the psychiatrist was wonderful. He's called Dr. Lorimer and he works at Gender Care. He like had a very good understanding of trans people, like the kind of understanding I would expect of a trans person. He like was throwing the terms around like TERF during the conversation, and at one point was like, now I know this is going to sound silly, but I have to tell you this, if you have this surgery, you will not be able to breastfeed. It was very funny. It was very it was really good. However, the admin team of both the psychiatrist and the surgeon kind of sucked. So like I still had a very, very long wait time, like way longer than it should have been, between applying for all these various things and actually getting appointments or getting getting my surgery booked in and all of this kind of stuff. It's usually not malicious, I don't think. It's just that there's a lot of names flying around. There's a lot of admin they have to do, and stuff just gets lost, including emails. So phone. If you're having trouble with that kind of thing and there's a phone number, just like phone them. I know that phoning is more of it's harder, but just like do it. Because I think if I'd phoned sooner than I had, I would have had the surgery by now. The surgery was booked quite a few months in advance of actually getting it. I didn't have too many feelings at that point. It was more like my focus was just on getting it in the calendar and jumping through whatever hoops I needed to make that happen. After I hit sort of the 1 month leading up to period, that's when the more emotional aspects of it started to like creep back in. Maybe about 2 weeks ago, I was very much having like last minute, like, oh god, am I making a terrible mistake? Oh god, what if it's awful? Oh god, oh, what have you done? This is a lot of money for like a procedure that may just ruin your life. I would say that all of the doubts and then the sort of rebuttals to those doubts that I mentioned earlier just kind of played on a very quick loop in my head a lot, like going round and round and round, and often just starting at the same place again. So, you know, I'd be like, okay, no, but I am sure though, and then I'd come back round and it'd be like, but what if you're not? And I'd have to just kind of do the process over and over again. It's helpful having friends who've like known you for a long time, especially if you've been talking about something for a long time. You know, because I can say to like Hazel or whoever, and I'll be like, oh, but what if I don't want it really? And she can be like, okay, well then don't get it. And I'm like, oh no, but I do though. Please don't take it away from me. No, my friends are probably like so sick of hearing me talk about this. I think one aspect of what can make decisions like this hard is the fact that you have to make a decision. Passively existing with a situation that you don't like is practically easier than changing it. So if you flip this situation and just pretend that I was like completely flat from the beginning, and then pose the question to me of like, would you get breast implants? Then that's such an absurd thought that it helps to put the whole thing in perspective. I try and think about like worst case scenario, and it's really all to do with like, I personally don't love the scarring. I think I'll be okay with it. I think one thing that's really important for me personally about this whole thing is because, you know, I'm someone who leans towards trying to find like the perfect answer or the perfect solution or whatever. And the only perfect solution in this particular instance is if I just never developed that way to begin with. So both this and surgery are imperfect outcomes. Because, yeah, I don't want massive scars. That's, like, not something that I desperately want. But I think it's something that I will be able to ignore, and something that I'll be much more comfortable with overall than the way I am now. When I think about, like, aspects that I may not be happy with, they're all like, okay, but this is still going to be better than it was before. The only way I could see it going, like, horribly wrong is if they somehow, like, don't take the boobs off, like, you know, just leave them on by accident, barring like anything going like horribly wrong during the surgery itself, obviously. But as far as I'm aware, this is not just one of the safest surgeries, like when it comes to like trans stuff, but also one of the ones with the highest like satisfaction rate. Because you know, I've said this before and I'll say it again, I think this should be available to cis people who want it, or like anyone who wants it. There shouldn't have to be a gender-based validation for it if it's just a sensory thing. It's not like a leg. It's not necessary to your survival. You should be able to just get it off, like get it removed if you don't want it. You shouldn't have to prove that you're not insane. I think it's insane to have it when you don't want it. I think thinking about the outcome and not thinking of it in terms of like, am I perfectly happy? Is everything fixed? Is my like entire life made better? You know, because that's how I think people shouldn't be approaching things like this. I don't think it's realistic to expect any particular change like this to like solve all your problems or make you perfectly like happy in your gender or anything like that. This is an imperfect solution to the problem, but I think it is the best solution that is available to me. I'm not 100% certain. I don't think I can be 100% certain until it has happened, and only then can I know for sure, because then I have the evidence. I know we're often like pushed into places of having to like having to perform 100% certainty, but you know, I don't think that's actually like healthy. I don't think people should have to be like that, because I don't see how you could be completely certain about something like this until it's happened. And I think operating on your best guess is the only way that you can realistically approach something like this. So that's where I was at like 3 weeks ago, was just like quite frequently in this sort of like doubt loop. I got out of it once I had kind of done the reassurances with the sort of the through the factors I'd mentioned earlier. I was able to focus on my work again. I know that after surgery I'm gonna be out of action for at least a few weeks, possibly more, so I was making sure that I had videos edited and ready to go while I'm in recovery, so that I don't have to worry about that, and I can just like read books during my recovery. And also I was trying to cram in all the socializing that I want to do beforehand, because I'm not going to be able to see people as easily, things like that. I'm into like the 2 week in advance period now. I've started to actually feel excited about how I will be after I'm significantly recovered, and also quite a lot of trepidation about the recovery process itself, because it does involve being stuck in a binder for 2 weeks. That's not going to be comfortable, and there may be a lot of pain, there may not be. This varies depending on different people, so I guess I'll just have to wait and see. I've never had major surgery, I've never been under general anesthetic, so I really have no idea what to expect. It's not going to be overwhelmingly pleasant, the recovery process. I don't love the idea of being taken out for that long, although on the flip side, it might be really good to have a reason to just stop for a while and just watch TV, just read books, just like not think about work. But you know, I have all the support I need. My family is supportive, my partner is supportive, I've got like friends who can help me out. I think it should all be fine. At this point, I'm starting to find it really difficult to focus, not just on work stuff, but on kind of anything. I find if I put on a podcast or a show or anything, I just zone out, I lose concentration. I'm a little bit like that anyway. Right now it's just happening a lot. I'm just slipping away in my head. I'm not even thinking about top surgery. That's the odd thing, is I'm not actually thinking about that very much at all. I'm just going into fictions in my head and just sitting there, zoning out of like the real world completely, which maybe makes sense. I've got quite an overwhelming thing coming up. Maybe my sort of brain is responding that by trying to just take me out of reality, because it's sort of like, oh god, that's happening, can't do anything about that, let's just sort of like remove you from the situation. That's sort of where I'm at now. And I've got, just shy of 2 weeks to go until surgery itself. I guess I'm gonna stop recording now and go and try and relax. Maybe I'm making a terrible mistake, I don't know yet. That's the fun of this video. The dissociative feeling that I discussed earlier is just getting more and more and more, to the point that like I'm feeling numb, not just emotionally and like mentally, but like physically numb. Like I've been pinching myself to see if I can feel anything, and it's not that I completely can't, but it's almost like a delayed reaction, like it's a while later before I'm sort of like, how? Maybe it is just really cold and that's what's happening, but you know, I mean, my body doesn't behave very well at the best of times. I know that like after the surgery, I'm gonna be taken out for quite a while, especially energy-wise. It's a little frustrating to be kind of almost already in that like not functioning state more than a week in advance of surgery. We are just under a week until surgery. I'm feeling really good. The numbness has kind of faded, and it's my birthday today. Normally I have some sort of a gathering or something, and I had arranged that for tomorrow, but a bunch of my friends are unwell. COVID is flying around again, and one thing that I hadn't really considered at the point of planning the gathering was I probably shouldn't get sick right before surgery, so I've kind of cancelled / postponed the entire thing to be a kind of surgery recovery, it's flat sort of celebration. I'm not sure if this is gonna show on camera, I don't think it is, but I'm covered in like hair clippings now because my housemate, who's a hairdresser, offered for me to just pop down to the salon and get my sides shaved so that I don't end up looking like one of the cats from Cats during the recovery. Both of my housemates have just been incredibly sweet to me today and just showered me in affection and like kind gestures and things, and I'm having like one of the best birthdays that I can remember having. I think up till this point I'd had a concern that like, oh, is it bad that I'm not feeling good about it? The thing is, nobody is desperately like what you want is the result of top surgery, not to have surgery itself. Nobody's just like, oh my god, I can't wait to like be sliced. I'm enjoying doing these sort of vlog things. I feel like I should have filmed this on the way back, on the walk back. This is Hazel. I was wearing my cool jacket and I'd like just got a haircut and I was like, ooh, you know, wind in my face and like walking and like, you know, sort of walking YouTuber. But
you realise your face is covered in hair.
So it is the day before surgery. I'm very shiny and clean, you know, doing all this sort of like last minute stuff before the surgery that I'm not going to be able to do for a while, like wash my hair. A couple of days ago, it suddenly occurred to me that I know of some trans masks with long hair, but I have never, to the best of my knowledge, come across someone who actually had long hair at the time of surgery, because I'm not going to be able to raise my hands over my head for a while, so I wouldn't even be able to like tie my hair up or down when it gets uncomfortable, so someone else is gonna have to do that for me, which feels weird. Like, I don't know if you've ever had someone else try and like put your glasses on for you. So I kind of was having this last minute panic of like, do I need to cut my hair off? I think it will be fine. We did a little bit of research and like dry shampoo and stuff. It will be fine because you can't lift your arms over your head. You have to wear button up or zip things for a good while post surgery, and like my plaid lesbian era is long behind me, so I was rootling around desperately trying to find and see if I still had any shirts that were like that, and I ended up having to get friends to bring shirts for me. With the combination of the shirt and like having thought that I like might need to like cut all my hair off, it's just really funny that like throughout the process of this surgery, there's a chance you can get like force masked. A lot of the stuff that we are reading about the recovery involves people sort of being like, oh god, I can't like lift things, and or like I pushed myself too hard and picked something up before I was ready to, and you know, it was very humiliating for me to ask my partner to do things and such. And all of this sounds very familiar to me already because I'm disabled. I mean, there have been times where I've barely been able to move. There have been times when my partner's had to wash my hair for me. Like, all of this stuff has already happened. I'm already very used to paying attention to my body and knowing and understanding what it can and can't do at any given moment, and I'm very comfortable with asking other people to do things for me at this stage in my life. It will be interesting to see how that goes, because I do anticipate this will be like one of my worst flare-ups, and I mean maybe worse than any that I've had. I'm not looking forward to the surgery, but I'm very, very much looking forward to where I'll be after, and I'm looking forward to it being over as well. It's kind of like, you know, when an exam is coming up, it's kind of like that. It's kind of like, okay, well, at least now it will be done. So it's 5:45. Been up since 5. You have to get up and drink some water and then stop drinking 2 hours beforehand, and also fast. So I can't have a cup of tea in the morning, and I was complaining to a friend about how I would survive, and I was like, they're trying to keep me weak so I don't cause trouble. And she was like, can you blame them? I had to wash with a special sponge that had aloe vera in it and not use any like normal products that I would use for cleaning, which is fine, but like I don't know whether or not I'm allowed to moisturize my face. I figured the deodorant is definitely out because that's like in the area, but I would really like to moisturize my face. I guess I'll just not and wait till I get there and then ask if I'm allowed to. I'm feeling honestly something close to like dread. I don't want to do this. I'm having what I believe is a very normal reaction to, would you like to have a horrible injury and recover from it slowly over the process of several weeks and be in horrible pain? So I was kind of, you know, having thoughts like, oh, is it really that bad? Oh, maybe I can just not. But the thing is, I know full well that if I drop out, then the next day I'll be like, oh, I still have boobs. I'm approaching this kind of in the way that, like, I'm on a train and I just kind of have to trust that the person who put me on the train, which is past me, knows what they were doing and is doing it in my best interest. So we're in the taxi. Thought I would take some footage from a different place so it's more visually interesting. This morning, my partner kept asking me sort of if I was okay, and also yesterday and today I actually had to ask her to like stop asking me if I was okay or like how I was feeling, because I can't think about how I'm feeling in too much detail. It's almost too complicated, and I'm just abstracting away from it and just sort of going along, and I'm like, oh, here's a room. Ooh, here's a sunrise. This isn't a time for feeling. This is a time for dissociating. So far, she's been getting like a lot more sort of visibly upset about the process than I am. Like a day ago, she cried, and then yesterday she cried again, and then last night we were in bed and she started crying, and you know, up till then I've been just sort of like pat, yes, like they're there, and then last night I just started laughing. Like, just, I don't know what came over me, and she was just like, why are you laughing? And I was like, because you're crying like a psychopath. I think it was the fact that like she was the one who was so upset about it, and I'm just kind of zoning out. I don't know, there's something really funny about that to me. She didn't mind. I've been drawn on now. My procedure's at 11. It is 8:45 now. I'm now just really excited. I'm finally going to get the thing I want. I think it's going to be great. Obviously, it's going to be horrible. The recovery is going to be horrible, but the thing is going to be great.
Visitor's here for you. Come in. Okay, I'll see you later.
Hello. How are you?
Great. I feel amazing. I wish you could have seen me like straight after. I wasn't like sort of babbling incoherently like Nikita when she had her operation, but I was happy enough that I was like engaging in about a normal level of conversation with the people I woke up with, which for me is highly unusual.
Yeah, you're surprisingly like normal. You just seem a bit dozed.
No, you know what's most interesting is I feel like I still have boobs. I'm on my period, and my boobs normally get a bit achy and heavy when I'm on my period.
Right.
The sensation of that is almost identical to what I'm currently experiencing.
Okay.
I mean, I know they've taken them off.
You'd hope so.
You would hope so. Also, what was funny is I had a dream about getting the surgery, and then I woke up and I'd had the surgery.
Are you sure that was a dream?
It's funny as well because they were telling me like there are bits that I'm going to forget. And at the time they were telling me this, I was like, I'm not going to forget. And now I don't remember them moving me from the recovery room to here. I feel great. I feel like amazing.
Good.
I'm so happy. I'm so happy. Oh, I'm so glad. Everyone is crying except for me. Hazel was crying last night and I started laughing at her.
You did.
You seem really well as well. Like
Yeah, I feel really well. And
Good.
like the procedure was just so, it was like honestly like verging on pleasant apart from getting the anesthetic, because obviously they have to put the cannula and everything in for that.
How was going out? How was going out? Like, how did you go out with the anesthesia? Did someone ask you to count
So basically they were setting me all up and putting stickies on me, and then they were like getting the cannula all set up, and that was uncomfortable because it felt like they were pushing a lot, I think, because my veins had like gone into hiding. The anaesthetist and whoever it was else who was in there, they were asking me like, oh, so what do you do for work and stuff, and I was like, no, don't ask me about this. And then I had to like, I was like, I write things, and they were like, what sort of things? And I was like, oh, whatever I like to write about. And then they were like, so for a blog, and then I was like, I make videos. And then I put the videos on YouTube, and they were like, so you're a YouTuber? And I was like, yeah, I'm just trying to like avoid saying it.
I mean, you are literally at work right now.
So then oxygen mask went on, and then they were like, just breathe this, and then I think the anesthetic was going to go in shortly afterwards. I don't really recall feeling sleepy. I just more sort of lightheaded, and then I was passed out. And then I woke up like I'd had a nice nap. And then I was just really happy. I was like, oh, this is just like a mild ache, which I'm sure is morphine. I'm sure it will get a lot worse than this, but it's great to wake up with that kind of sensation. You know, the morphine has definitely dialed down my like autism sensitivity, because I can't really feel this cannula in. And I have no objections to this thing on my face.
Have you got the squishy socks on?
Squishy?
Are they squishing your feet?
Yes, they're squeezing my feet.
How's
Yes.
that?
It's quite reassuring. It's like every now and then it's like, here's a little sort of leg.
What does it do? Why does you have
You
to...
must have had these.
No. What does it do?
It's just like squeezing each like shin calf to like
keep your
stimulate blood
circulation.
flow. Yeah, I'm cozy.
I mean, it's quite a cozy bed.
I'm having a nice time.
view of the downs.
Yeah, I'm feeling like I could just stay here.
But I mean, please also come home.
How are you two feeling? How's everything?
I've been
All right.
completely fine all day.
You're
before-
wearing my favourite dress that you have.
Yes, in honour of you. Shona really likes this dress, so I thought might as well dress for Shona.
Nikita got some chiplets. Chiplets.
What's a chiplet?
We got chiplets.
We got chiplets, and we got you a bag of cookies, but we also got ourselves some cookies.
And then we got
some
Shona
of
cookies so
those.
that we could eat them.
Even though I was like, they're not going to eat 5 cookies, we can have a couple of their
What's a
cookies.
chiplet? When I first met the surgeon, like, it wasn't bad, but like clearly our forms of autism were clashing and we weren't communicating like like the facts were being communicated, but like whatever like social norms we were meant to do were just going across each other in a way that didn't like connect, which is fine because obviously like I looked at all his work and I was like, you are absolutely still the surgeon I want to do this, I don't need you. You know, if you're getting someone in to like paint your house, you don't need to really like them as a person, you just need them to paint the house well. But then today he came in and he was like really chipper and energetic. Yeah, he just seems in his element. He seems like he's having fun, and also that's very encouraging to me because like he was like, he did the marking and like then he was like, oh, okay, so like, you know, the boobs are really high, so like I'm gonna need to like, rather than bringing the scar right down so it's underneath, it's actually gonna sit like on the peg. He was like folding it to like where he was like, this bit's gonna come down and this bit's gonna come up, and like rather than like feeling bad, because obviously I'm not like mad keen on that area of my body, I was like getting really interested and excited, and I was like, oh, this is a fascinating process, and the artistry of it as well, like it was really encouraging and like invigorating for me, like in the same way that like seeing anyone who is like good at what they do get excited about it is like just really like encouraging. I feel like coming home.
We've got tent and stuff.
I shouldn't, but that's all right.
Yeah, Hazel, you go and distract the nurses, I'll wheel Shona out.
While I was just getting ready to go under the anaesthetic, and they were like putting like stickies on me and everything and all of that, and it was all very bustling, it was all like, oh, you know, getting ready for surgery kind of stuff. That felt very unreal to me. That felt like, oh god, this can't actually be happening. Not in a bad way, but just kind of like, what? Like, surely not. But now that it's actually happened, it just feels like, finally, this is correct. I mean, of course, I haven't seen it yet, but I do not have boobs anymore. You know.
You certainly don't.
I don't. I keep saying the wrong thing though. Like earlier I was like, oh, my boobs are hurting.
Which, as your sister pointed out, they're in the bin.
Yeah, and I said, that's probably why they're hurting. I'm starting to feel tired now. I was very like, weirdly like, energized when I woke up. Now I've had food and I'm like a little more achy. I'm feeling like exhausted. I'm looking forward to a sleep. I've had a good day.
Yeah.
It's been a pretty good day.
Productive.
Yeah.
So got home. I kind of wish I'd taken a video last night just because I was so like hype about the whole thing. I couldn't sleep. I was too sort of just, you know, giddy about the whole thing. I was sending everyone voice notes. I only slept, I think, for maybe like 2 hours because I didn't even try and sleep until about 11. Then the nurse came in and woke me up pretty much just after I'd managed to get to sleep because she had to take my blood pressure and everything. Then I woke up again at, I don't know, 3 and then just stayed awake. So I am now exhausted. The high is finally wearing off and I'm starting to feel a bit like now I'm in the house and I'm installed in my bed and I'm a bit like, oh, this is going to be a bit of a boring week. I am just astonished by the fact that such a massive injury can be inflicted upon a person and then they can just be sewn up and given a bunch of drugs and put in a bed and then sent home. Also, the surgeon came in this morning and took off my binder to have a look at the wound, and that meant I got to see it for the first time as well. And it is quite a sort of like a bit of like a breathtaking moment to just. It looks amazing. It's so good. This guy is so skilled. My scars, like, the lines are so neat, and obviously we'll have to see how they heal, but, like, it's just so right. It's so right. It's like, oh, there it is. That's what's, like, been hiding this entire time. Like, it already feels correct. I was expecting more blood. I was expecting it to be messier, but it's just so clean. It's amazing. It's amazing. I'm just, like, I'm gobsmacked. I am awestruck. It's starting to get bad. I'm finding it really hard to sleep. Because I have to sleep kind of upright so that I can still breathe properly with the binder on. And I kept waking up because of pain, and like I kind of spasmed awake at one point. I'm getting pain up and down through like my whole spine, and obviously like through like the sort of pecs area. And then I was also I couldn't tell if I was hungry or nauseous as well.
Just having a sort of sleepy time. I wouldn't put the camera on China for too long.
I'm not having fun. I'm not having a sleepy time. I'm in pain. So what it is the things, the mood. Other people comment I'm sick.
We attempted to give Shona a little wash. We took the binder off. Looks really good. All the is it stitches? Are they stitches? The stitches look really good.
No, I'm feeling sick again. Turn the camera. I feel sick. Morning. So I'm doing a lot better now than I was last night, which is good, because last night was bloody awful. I'm not honestly in that much pain right now, which is great because it means that hopefully soon I can come off codeine. Yesterday when I had it, I made the mistake of having it not with food because I was in so much pain at one point that like they were like, we're just going to give you this medication, and it made me incredibly nauseous. It was just awful, like horrible. I was just in pain and nausea and everything and exhaustion all at the same time. It was very unpleasant, but now I have slept. And I would really like to come off the codeine if possible. Not just because it's horrible, but also because it's like it has like a constipating effect, meaning I have to have laxatives. Now, the laxatives in hospital were for some reason just delicious sugar syrup that was served in a syringe. I felt like a rat. It was great. But now the laxative I have to have is this stuff, which for some reason isn't delicious sugar syrup. It's just like, it's like drinking just sort of chalky, like medicated water. I hate it and I want to come off it. Hazel just pointed out that my last dose of ibuprofen and paracetamol would have been at like 1 and 2 o'clock. And it's now 22:08. So those would have probably mostly worn off, and I'm not taking the codeine anymore. So I don't know if this is like the level of pain I'm experiencing is fully as if there were no painkillers. I imagine there's still some like lingering in my system. I'm not enjoying it, and I'm looking forward to taking like more painkillers with dinner. But it's nowhere near as bad as I thought it would be. It's definitely not as bad as the pain that my body just sometimes puts itself into anyway. At the moment, I'm actually like, I'm fine mostly with regards to pain and stuff. I'm doing the exercises, I'm gaining mobility back. Went out for a little walk today, just to the end of the street and back. I'm finding it difficult to eat because I get hungry, but then I start putting food in my stomach, and then I immediately feel nauseous and I feel like throwing up. So I'm trying to just get around that by eating smaller portions and like very like mild, bland food. Doing really well. I hope it carries on like this because this is fine. This is my care team being, really helpful.
Do you need anything?
I could do with some help showering. Morning, day 3, Sunday morning. Didn't sleep too badly. Woke up with a really sore jaw because I clench my jaw a lot, and I guess it's clenching even harder now that I'm having to sleep upright, and it's having to kind of work against gravity to stay clenched during the night. And my whole spine is a bit of a mess because I guess it's in positions that it doesn't like.
I'm honestly kind of amazed that, like, I'm just on, like, paracetamol and ibuprofen, and I'm kind of okay.
Do you
like,
just
I'm
take an
not really-
ibuprofen?
Yes, with the cookie.
How long ago?
Half an hour?
Nikita brought me this from Itsu, and as you can see, it has now been eaten by Nikita and Hazel.
Well, it's very important that you don't overeat because that's been making you poorly.
It's true.
So we're having to step in.
We've stepped up and taken one for the team.
We're making sure that you don't get unwell by eating too much.
And this has actually been difficult for us to eat.
Yeah, I don't want to be doing this, but we're doing this for your health.
I'm not in too much pain. My sister went home yesterday. I've been doing okay. I've just been reading whenever my brain allows for it, and listening to podcasts whenever my brain allows for it, and just napping otherwise. Starting to sort of try and like get clean a little bit. Like Hazel's been helping to sort of wash me with a flannel. We're not doing any like showering or anything because you don't want to risk getting like this area wet. I'm just immensely grateful for the support system that I have. Nikita and Hazel were obviously amazing. Other friends all offering to bring things. Someone else is coming around tomorrow and bringing books, and her partner is making food for me. I don't even know her partner, and her partner is just helping out by like, you know, putting together some Tupperwares. It's really cool to see how that I have such good friends. It's just amazing. Like that just yeah, I'm very lucky. I'm really, really lucky. A couple of other things I wanted to mention while I remember them. This is starting to settle down now, but for the first few days, I would have very intrusive thoughts surrounding the wound. I would imagine things like just big claws, like slicing like my chest open, and that would just play in my head over and over again. Like if Hazel brought me food and there was a fork, I would imagine like forks like forking the wound open. This is just how my brain is. Also, my perception of time surrounding these events has got completely warped. Like on the day that I was coming home from the hospital, I felt like I'd been in the hospital for a few days when I'd actually just been there the one night. And then after my first night at home, I felt like I'd been at home for a few days, even though I'd only been at home for one night. And yeah, I noticed in one of my recordings yesterday, I'd called it day 5 when it was actually day 4. Hazel's brought me a hot water bottle, thank you.
You need to show the hot water bottle.
Okay, this is Skylar Brain, my son. Yeah, he's helping me out. It's interesting because, like, at first, the binder, I felt very, like I needed the binder on, and felt very sort of unsafe without it, and it still does sort of feel like that, but also I'm starting to resent the binder a bit. It's not like the kind of binder that I would have worn previously to flatten everything out. It's actually a repurposed back binder. It's very heavy duty, and its purpose is just to squeeze. And it does that very well, but it doesn't have shoulder straps or anything, so the binder slips down when I do exercises and things, and then it has to be sort of hoinked up and retightened and stuff, and that whole process is a bit arduous. It's heavy, it's cumbersome, it's a bit exhausting to wear in and of itself. I feel like a Koopa. I can't really, like, wash, like, I can't shower and stuff. Hazel's just having to help me, like, wash with kind of, like, flannels and wet wipes and stuff. I'm obviously not bothering over much about my appearance right now, so I'm growing a big old moustache and my underarms are growing out, and I stink, and it's just funny because, like, you know, when I was talking earlier about like the sort of forced masking aspect of all this, that still seems to be sort of happening. I don't stink. I'm okay. I've been wearing this Gamgee from the hospital for at least 5 days now, and it does have blood on it, and it does have that kind of old blood smell. I'm quite sensitive to smells, and that's just don't like it. The other thing is, last night I started experiencing the beginnings of sort of post-op, sort of depressive like state, which up until that point I'd been mostly either just exhausted or euphoric, or like quietly euphoric. I started to feel like, oh, why did I do this? And oh, you know, was this a terrible idea? And oh, blah, blah, blah. Not really with a whole lot of kind of logical rationale behind it, but more just in the sense that, like, if I hadn't done this, I wouldn't be sort of suffering acutely right now. I wouldn't be experiencing this particular form of suffering, which is quite significant at this point in time. And I think, again, maybe that's just a sort of normal response. It's like, oh, you did a thing and now you're suffering, therefore you should never do that thing again, and that thing was a mistake, even if that's not actually what the situation is. If I actually start dissecting why I feel like I'm regretting it, I can't really come up with any more substantial reason than I don't like it right now, right this second, while I'm healing, which is not a good point of reference to be sure of anything like this. So it's now precisely 1 week since the operation. I would have been just coming out of surgery round about this time last week, and I'm having a really good time. I've managed to relax into, like, this is just recovery time, just allow yourself time to rest and heal. And it's been really pleasant for the past couple of days. Friends have come around to take some of the like weight off of Hazel, because even if she doesn't have to do that much, she needs to be kind of on call all the time. Like, I can't do things like make my own cup of tea or get something out the cupboard or put something in the bin or whatever. So like, she kind of needs to be available at all times just so that I can get by, and that's obviously like a little bit draining on her. And she's had a stressful time anyway. She was a lot more stressed about me getting the operation than I was. It's helped to have other people around her so that Hazel can do her own thing, or even just like go on the computer for hours if she wants to or whatever, without like needing to stop and look after me. This morning I have been spending my time reading a romance novel and learning a language on various language learning apps. And I guess this is only sort of tangentially related to top surgery, but it's really good to just like properly take time off. I don't need a justification right now. I can just rest, and it's great, and I'm actually really enjoying it. Would recommend. So I got some sort of weird package, and I've already opened it now, but this was sealed in a sort of weird, like, in some sort of folded pattern that I couldn't get open at all. And it says open me on it, like a freaking Alice in Wonderland like item. It opens like this, and then there is more sort of geometric folding patterns, and then I had to open that as well, and this opens to reveal feel better soon, XOX. No mention of who has sent this at all. What? I don't recognise the handwriting on the envelope. I don't recognise the handwriting on the thing. Why is it Halloween themed? I mean,
well,
unless
it's
it's
someone
just
who knows that you're a bit spooky.
Well, no.
Purple pen, but quite scratchy writing, like very. Should probably blur this out because it's got your address on it.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Perplexing.
That's added some mystery to my day. It's mystery well-wisher, very, very interesting.
Maybe it's from the devil.
You know the thing that I've noticed about top surgery?
What have you noticed about top surgery? Your boobs are missing.
What I've noticed about top surgery...
What have you noticed about top surgery, Angelica?
Is you get a lot of attention with everyone messaging you, trying to see how alright you are and so on and so forth. I think this might be why people have babies, because they just want the attention, and because it really does come, the attention in full force when you have just had surgery, and it's actually very like nice, actually, like to be the center of attention. And then like about 3 days later, once you're just in pain and the morphine has worn off, and then you've had the surgery or you've had the baby and nobody cares anymore, and you're just left with this horrible squalling infant for the rest of your life.
As the person who's been caring for you for a week and a half now, the fact that after 3 days no one cares anymore is a bit it's a bit rich.
I just mean that like the immediate like concern and like well wishes have all died off by day 3. But day 3 is old news. It's like, oh yeah, you got your boobs chopped off and whatever. But the good thing is, this is a thing that I actually want and hopefully will be a good thing for the rest of my life. Whereas if you have a baby, then you're just stuck with it, and then it has to exist, and it's just so think about it before you have a baby for attention.
Consider top surgery instead.
Yeah, I'm actually in like more pain today, like significantly more pain, which is why this mystery letter that I've received has cheered me up a bit. Yeah, I don't know, I have to like take it easy again, because I was maybe overdoing it a little bit. My recovery was going so well that I was like, I can do anything, and then it's like, it turns out I can't. So I think I might have to go back to sort of just being in bed and not really doing much else for a while. I was supposed to have my follow-up appointment today. I was really excited to get the binder off and just, you know, start living a slightly less restricted life. And we got to the hospital and they were like, oh, your appointment's on the 23rd. It's 22nd today. And obviously I thought, well, I guess I must have mucked up, it can't be the computer. I just looked at the letters and they very categorically state that my appointment is today. We just got back from the actual hospital appointment. I had a shower, my first shower in 2 weeks. It was glorious, I felt like a god. Oh my god, I covered myself in moisturiser after the shower, no moisturiser for 2 weeks. Now I'm not wearing the binder anymore and that feels really weird. I tried to put on a normal shirt like I would normally wear, like, so not a shirt but like a t-shirt over my head, and my scholars were like, you're absolutely not doing that yet, so I'm still stuck in like oversized like Hazel or like Holly shirts, people who are larger than me shirts. But what's weird is that the binder, on top of like kind of obscuring my body and therefore making it that I couldn't really get a sense of what I actually look like yet, on top of that it also functioned like a kind of underwear, so I'm very used to putting a bra on and then putting my t-shirt on, so it was really weird just now to just like be like, oh no, this goes directly on my bit of skin, I don't put a thing on. That was really strange, and we've been looking like at it, as in my torso, just seeing what it looks like, and like it's not even, you know, I'm nowhere near fully healed yet, and it's just already is so right. I look so hot, like, already. I am an androgynous vision, and tell me it's not true.
I can't deny it. There was a little side on.
Oh, well, sure.
Gosh, how flat.
Today we are making crumpets, by which I mean getting crumpets out of the bag and putting them in the toaster. You know I can't open crumpets, even at the best of times. I can use my left hand because that one has less mobility currently.
Action shot.
Yesterday what happened is we had some friends just come round to bring cookies, and I was like, oh, well, I want to wear some nice clothes. So this top, I'm gonna actually take this off so you can see properly. This top is the first item of my own clothing that I have worn since top surgery on my chest. Oh my god, like the euphoria of just going around, like just being flat. I'm also realizing that it has like a sort of boob pattern. Not that I had like 3 in a row down the center,
like a duck.
but it has, I think, sort of molded in a kind of way that it's got used to sitting on my previous chest, and I'm not sure if this particular top is actually going to work.
Just to convey the full impact, for the past 2 weeks you've sort of been walking around with your binder and all kind of, you know, just sort of very tired and hair up and glasses, and then yesterday you came into the room with your hair like all down and your contacts on and your like hot like zippy top and your like trackies, and you just came into the room. And bearing in mind I had friends round and I've only seen you in like that for 2 weeks, and then you just come into the room like look at me, I'm flat.
Then our friends were like, you could just go out like that, like you could just have it off, you could just go outside. I have no intention of doing that, like, probably for at least another year, because you're actually supposed to keep the scars out of direct sunlight. It is wild that, like, I no longer have, like, my chest is no longer obscene. I can just go outside, in theory, like I'm allowed. But also, while, like, it feels amazing to have just got rid of the thing that people would like, look at and, like, objectify me for previously, that feels so good, like, so freeing. I now have a sort of visibly trans body. People are going to look at me for a different reason. That's going to take some getting used to, but the fact that I could, and, like, it would just be, like, allowed. I can't actually put into words how freeing it is and how sad it is that you have to, like, get a part of you removed in order to access that freedom.
Now, finish your crumpets.
Okay. So we just went outside, and that was a lot. That was a lot. I am in significant pain. It's not the longest walk I've done so far, but it's the first time I've gone outside without the binder. And the binder definitely felt like it was like holding everything down and strapping me in. It felt almost like the wound is just kind of like, you know, like sort of... Sorry, Hazel made a really sort of repulsed face. It feels like it's like rippling when I move around, and oh, it's very painful. This is my best friend of 10 years. She looks like this all the time. Vespa was meant to be here a week ago, but then they were sick, and you were like genuinely sad, not just because like you know you'd said you'd be here and then you couldn't be, but because like you just wanted to be here. I really wanted to be here because it's like a big.
I wanted to keep your nipples in a jar.
Like, that wasn't an option. They're in the incinerator.
I'm going to find the incinerator and break in.
I think they might be disintegrated by now. After I went out, like, I can't remember when it was, like 3 days ago or something, my chest just felt like it was on fire for quite a few days. So my plan now is that when I go outside, because I'm supposed to be going outside, but I've now got like a fear of going outside because it's like, it hurt so much the last time.
Wear a fleece.
Well, I thought I could just wear because I've got binders that, like, from before, and one of them is easy to put on because it fastens on the side. So I thought I would just wear a nice, like, comfortable binder and try that. Yeah, going outside is going to be a whole thing, and I probably should do it.
Let's do it today. Come on.
So I did get outside. I just went in a circle around my house, which is the route that I'd been doing prior, like while I was still wearing the hospital binder, but wearing the sort of regular binder that fastens on the side does seem to work. I've also managed to get my first garment over my head. It has like sort of quite low sleeves, so I could get it on, and it clashes horribly with the sort of like granddad shirt that I'm wearing, but you know, we're not doing fashion at the moment. Do it quite slowly because we don't want to rip any scabs off.
Are we not? Oh no.
Vespa.
Oh dear.
Vespa.
Oh god.
Vespa.
Oh no. Wait, hang on. No, genuinely this time. There's a bit here which doesn't even look like there's any scar.
Really?
Like just there, it looks almost healed. Oh my god, there's like no scab whatsoever. I don't think you're gonna scar too bad.
Really? I feel like we're making some sort of, not ASMR, but like, you know, some sort of weird, like...
Oh yeah, some people will be into this.
Yeah.
Look at Janelica's chest. There isn't a breast. It's in an incinerator downstairs.
They genuinely almost like hit me in the chest the other day after like joking that they might be that they might. Why does this side hurt so much more?
It doesn't hurt. Not like you just had pretty severe surgery. Get it out of my face!
This legitimately is more painful to endure than like the surgery, post-surgery itself. Because normally, obviously, if you're pulling off a plaster or something, you do it quickly so it doesn't like do this. But with this, you obviously can't just rip it off, otherwise you will rip open the scab.
Do you know what the funny thing is? That wasn't on any scar whatsoever.
Really?
That was just because it was too adhesed.
This looks a lot less. Can we take a photograph of it and then we'll get the next set of tape. I'm currently feeling a bit crap, if I'm honest. The last week has been pretty good. The thing is, Vespa like kind of has the energy of two people. When she left this morning, the whole house has gone like very, very quiet. Hazel got super sick and it's just kind of Hazel coughing in the next room and then me like by myself over here. Surgery was like just over 3 weeks ago now, so I sort of feel like that shouldn't be affecting me too much anymore, but realistically it probably is. Normally when I feel like I do now, which is just a bit like trapped in my own body and just frustrated in general, I will do some yoga or something physical to help get me like back in my body and feeling kind of good about it, but I obviously can't do that right now, and going outside is still quite a big deal. I have fallen off meditation a lot in the past 3 weeks. I haven't done that at all, so I thought maybe I should go back to that starting now, and hopefully that will help a bit and make me feel less just bad. Are you filming?
Yeah.
Hi. So, I have insomnia, and I went to bed last night and slept very badly, and then when I woke up this morning, it wasn't too bad at first, but, you know, I could tell my neck was a little bit sore, but then I started just doing my usual sort of like, physio stuff for top surgery recovery, and then my neck when this is so hard to describe. It's like a sort of trapped nerve kind of a thing. I haven't had it do this for a while. The physical problems that I experience often anyway haven't kicked in too much during the recovery process, which is lucky. But it's not surprising that at this sort of like reaching a month point that like stuff is starting to happen again, because I mean sometimes it just takes something like a bad night's sleep to kick it off. But also I'm not doing my yoga, I'm not doing like my strength exercises, I'm not doing all this other stuff. The core muscles that I have a very sort of careful routine in place for to make sure that that this kind of thing is less likely to happen, that's obviously started to go down, and those muscles are now weak. And this pain that I'm experiencing right now is so much worse than like everything apart from like maybe day one of top surgery. And this is not the worst it has ever been. This is just like something that happens now and then. I don't know, I'm just kind of recording this just for future reference, so that if future me ever like doubts that what I'm experiencing is real, this is my comparison. Top surgery is smooth sailing in comparison to the stuff that I have to deal with on like a day-to-day basis. Also, top surgery, there's an end in sight. How far along am I now? I'm like...
Coming up to 4 weeks?
Coming up to 4 weeks, yeah, so doing really, really good. I went for a walk yesterday, was it yesterday? And that was my first, with my sort of old Velcro binder on, and that was the first walk I've done that's felt reasonably comfortable. I still haven't tried going without the binder. I think I'm going to try increasing the distance first and then going without the binder. But, you know, my mobility is largely back. I still can't get shirts over my head, and, you know, things that are too high, I can't reach them. Things that are too heavy, I can't lift. But overall, you know, it's all coming back, and I'm very much seeing an end in sight. This is 1 month, post-top surgery. I don't know how this is coming up on video because we took some photos and it actually looked like a lot more, because of the contrast in the photos, it looks a lot more like, oh my god, that's a horrifying injury. Whereas in real life, it's just like there's a bit here where the scab has come off, and you can see like how thin the scar is. This is like absurdly good healing, like absurdly thin lines. I'm really looking forward to see what this looks like later. We have switched to sugary scar tape as opposed to this, which is what the surgeon gave us. I did ask if I could do this. I'm not just like renegading off like by myself. The surgeon said that like according to him there isn't enough like evidence to say that this stuff, like the silicone stuff, is better. But he did say it's not going to hurt you, so you can use that if you want. And because there does seem to be clinical evidence online, I wonder if it's more just that this is expensive and this isn't, and it doesn't make enough of a difference to bother giving patients this one. Everything's going on really well. I can like move quite a lot. Like that's maybe about as far as I can go this way. I feel a bit stupid now. It's not hurting now to the point that I woke up this morning and went to like do a like big morning stretch, and then I was like, oh god, like what am I doing?
Give us a spin. The spin, that was great. It was too fast.
You want a sort of slow revolve.
Yes. This was what I'd meant.
It is 2 days until I hit the 6-week mark, and I'm officially sort of fully recovered, medically speaking. I've not really been filming these videos for kind of the last 2 weeks. It's not been on my mind. The whole top surgery thing has kind of started to go into the background. I've started to like move out of I'm in top surgery recovery and back into, oh, how do I do normal things again? And what's my next YouTube video gonna be? And what chores and errands do I have to run? And what friends do I want to go out and meet for a coffee? And all of that kind of thing. Today, I think I hit the mark for all of my own old clothes being put onable by myself. It was only really sort of like tight, long-sleeved, relatively inflexible garments that I couldn't put on at this stage, and now I can. The whole like wound site has settled down to the point that it's obviously not present on my mind, and when it does hurt, I'm kind of surprised. I'm trying to think about any other sort of emotions or whatever I've had lately that actually relate to top surgery at all. I think there's an interesting sense of loss that I wasn't necessarily expecting. Like, say for example, like, I don't know, it might be hard to toss out old clothes that you used to wear, even if you never really liked them and will never wear them again. It can be hard to end a relationship with someone, even if that person is terrible to you. It's clearly the right decision, and I'm very pleased that I've done it, and overall, the sense I feel is of a weight being lifted. But there is this sense of sort of strange, a certain sadness and a certain sense of loss because something is gone, even though it's not something I wanted. That's just an interesting thing I've observed. I went to an event in London last week, and I wore this lace top which has like a lot of skin on show, and obviously I wasn't wearing anything underneath. That was a really weird thing to experience because I was going around being like, oh, I'm like naked and oh god, I'm like indecent, but I wasn't, because I no longer have female presenting nipples or nipples of any kind. And obviously I think it would be kind of unusual for like a guy to be wearing that top as well. Basically what I'm getting at is that like it was super androgynous in a way that I think would really confuse people who were looking, because I don't look obviously like trans masked. People would just look and get completely confused and not be able to like parse what they were seeing, which is this just like completely flat, like featureless like torso with a lace thing over it. It was confusing me to look at. So I think it would also have a confusing effect on other people in terms of like what the hell gender they were seeing, and that's really enjoyable to me. That's really fun. Alright, so it is July the 3rd. Top surgery was on February the 9th, so it's about 5 months pretty much since I had it done. It's very hot, in case you couldn't tell. The scars are basically more or less where they're going to get to in terms of stretching. I don't think they're going to stretch a whole lot more. When I started, I thought that the scars were something I would have to tolerate. I thought that I wouldn't like the scars, but I wouldn't like the scars less than I wouldn't like the boobs, basically. I quite like the scars. I hadn't really expected that, but the scars look quite cool. After, like, whenever I shot the last video, I just kind of forgot about it. Like, the whole chest thing was just the occasional sort of twinge here and there. I'm not that kind of YouTuber anyway. I'm not like the best at kind of being like, hey guys, here's what I'm doing today. I don't know where the accent came from, but here I am, and I don't know if you can tell, but like I'm really feeling myself. This is how I'm meant to be. What I will say about recovery, this is most relevant to people who have like pre-existing health conditions. Basically, recovering from this thing, even if this goes completely well, can exacerbate other conditions purely because of lack of movement and lack of your muscles go a bit squidgy and floppy. At one point during recovery, I can't remember exactly when, I had this plan to go to London, and I tried to put my usual sort of bag of things that I take to London, which is very, very minimal. And I couldn't carry it. It was the weight was tugging on my spine and pulling, and I was causing like shoulder pain and just all sorts of stuff. And I think what was going on there is that because I'd spent all this time recovering from top surgery, I hadn't been able to do yoga and do my strengthening exercises and keep my other conditions more under control. What ended up happening is that like I kept like discarding things. I was like, oh well, I just won't take my Kobo, and I guess I'll buy a toothbrush in London and I can wear my sister's underwear. I spent the whole day pretty much trying to reconfigure my bag so that I could go to London, and then by the end of it I was so stressed and sad and sore that I was just like, can I just not come to London? The information that I'd been given by the surgeon said that I would be ready to resume a sort of full range of activities 6 weeks onwards. That was mostly true, but there is this dance class that I go to. I was not ready for that at the 6 week mark. I started it again 10 weeks after surgery rather than 6, and even then it took me another couple of weeks before I had a full range of arm movement. It felt very stiff and like kind of like I was pulling or stretching on the scars at first if I had to do anything big and loopy with my arms. But at the 10 week mark, that was all that was restricted, was just big arm movements. Another thing that I've heard mentioned is sort of post-surgery depression, which I didn't get for a while, so I didn't think it was going to happen to me. And I'm still not sure that what happened is necessarily falls into that category. I did get depressed for like a solid month. Which I know is not a lot by most chronically depressed people's standards. It was interesting because I definitely wasn't depressed about the results. It was hard to pin down where it came from, but I have a few theories, and they do relate somewhat to top surgery. The first, when I was discussing it with Vlad, they compared it to, I can't remember the exact term, it was something like, they called it like a glitter come down or something, or what they experience as the feeling of having been on stage, and it's like, oh my god, you're on stage, everybody's like applauding for you, you've got this adrenaline flowing through you, and it's just like the most incredible euphoric experience. And then you come off stage, you go home, and then it's like back to your normal life, and you feel the contrast feels very sort of flattening. I think that could be part of it. But another aspect, which I think is maybe the most pertinent, is that top surgery, or any kind of surgery, probably, it makes your world very small. You have one task, and that is to recover, as opposed to the 5 million things that you have to do in your life the rest of the time. There's a certain like security and safety in that I actually found myself missing in some ways after I started returning to normal and being like, oh, now I've got to do work again. There were no feelings of regret or anything like that in the depression, I should say. And I'm through it. I'm absolutely through it. I worked out ways. I spoke to all my friends. I spoke to my therapist. I got it all sorted out. I'm now out the other side of that. It only lasted a month. So a few months after getting top surgery, like I say, it had kind of faded into the background. I wasn't thinking about it quite so much. Then it became summer. And I cannot tell you how freeing this is. The physical comfort of not carrying around an extra 2 kilograms of like flesh wad on my chest in the heat feels so good just from like a physical like comfort point of view. I haven't had a single catcall this summer, and that also feels really good. Which is not to say, obviously, that this is a total ward off against all things of that nature. I've certainly had more like homophobic interactions because I now look gayer than I did. But that feels better. For some reason, that feels more like I am being judged for the way that I choose to present myself, rather than just the way that my body is, and specifically the way that it is in a way that I hate. I'm so much more confident in myself. I wear a lot more eye-catching clothing now because I feel so much more confident in my body that I'm not concerned if people look at me. I went through all of my old clothes and kind of got rid of everything that wouldn't fit anymore. That was a really like kind of joyous process. There were like 1 or 2 things that I was really hoping would still fit that didn't. But overall, it's like the ratio of old things that I would have wanted to fit that don't versus new things that wouldn't have fit before that do fit now. It's way in on this side's favor, and that's really, really nice. Previously in the summer, I did wear a lot of mesh tops. That's one thing that I hadn't quite twigged that I wouldn't be able to wear yet, not because they don't fit necessarily, but just because you're supposed to keep the scars out of direct sunlight. You can just slather on like factor 50. Having to reapply it and stuff, it just stressed me out. So I'm just not doing that. So I did have to get some new tops and things. I'm dressing more femme. That's interesting. I mean, I had sort of seen that coming before getting the surgery. I kind of knew that was something that I thought I would feel more comfortable with post-surgery, and I'd already started slightly wearing like skirts and dresses and stuff and like easing myself into it. But now that I've had the surgery, I'm just correct in my body. I can wear whatever I want. Yeah, I feel the hottest I've ever felt in my life. I think you can tell. So this concludes my top surgery journey. I hope you found it useful. Obviously, my experience has been super positive, but don't take this as your only point of research and run with it if this is something you're intending to do, even if you're planning on like seeing the same surgeon as I did. Definitely do more research and bear in mind your specific conditions, body type, family situation, everything else. Any questions, feel free to ask me. I will get to as many as I can. If not, I bet there are going to be a lot of other people in the comments who can also help you out. When it comes to this kind of thing, people don't hold back on information or help. People just just dish it out, or at least in my experience anyway. Special thanks to my coffee supporters whose names are coming up on screen. If you would like to become a coffee supporter yourself, you can do so over on my coffee page, and that would really help this channel. But you don't have to do that. There are many reasons you may not want to or not be able to do that. If that's the case, then leaving a comment, liking the video, subscribing, sharing, all extremely useful ways to support the channel. And special thanks to Théo, who I haven't credited verbally in my last couple of videos because I'm an asshole, but who is also a really good video essayist. He does really like cool, interesting video essays on really niche, strange topics. I will link to a video over there. Go watch his videos, they're really good. Special thanks to Hazel for helping me set the whole thing up and bringing me cups of tea. I can't end videos.